For as long as she could remember, Mina had heard stories about the hidden village in the mountains. It was a place whispered about only in hushed tones, said to be so remote and secret that no one who had ventured there ever returned. Some said it was a paradise, untouched by the modern world, while others warned that it was a place of danger and mystery. But one thing was certain: no one knew if it truly existed. Mina was a girl of endless curiosity. She lived in a small town at the base of the towering mountains, where the peaks touched the sky and the clouds seemed to drift close enough to touch. Every morning, she would look out of her window and gaze at the distant mountains, wondering if the stories were true. Her grandfather had once spoken of the hidden village. "It's a place forgotten by time," he had said, his old eyes glinting with a hint of adventure. "There, the people live in peace, far from the troubles of the outside world. But the path to the village is treacherous, and not everyone who seeks it finds their way." Now, years after her grandfather's passing, Mina found herself longing for adventure. The routine of daily life in her small town felt stifling, and the mountains called to her like a distant song. So, one crisp autumn morning, Mina made a decision. She would find the hidden village. The journey began with a sense of excitement. Mina packed her bag with supplies: food, water, a map, and a compass. She knew the path would be difficult, but she was determined. Her heart raced with anticipation as she began her climb up the mountain trail, her boots crunching on the fallen leaves beneath her. The higher she climbed, the more the world below seemed to disappear. The town grew smaller, the roads and houses shrinking into the landscape until they were no more than specks on the horizon. The air grew thinner and colder, and the wind howled through the rocky cliffs, but Mina pressed on, her determination unwavering. Days passed, and the trail became more difficult to follow. The path was overgrown with thick brush, and the trees grew denser, blocking out the sun. Mina's compass seemed to malfunction, spinning wildly without direction, and her map was of no use. There were no trails marked for a hidden village that no one could find. But Mina wasn't about to give up. Something inside her told her to keep going, that she was close. She felt it in her bones, in the very air around her. One evening, just as the sun dipped below the horizon, Mina spotted something strange. Through the thick trees, she could make out the faint outline of a stone archway, covered in moss and vines. Her heart leaped with excitement. She had found something that didn't belong in the wild mountains. She hurried toward the archway, pushing aside branches and leaves. As she stepped through, she felt a sudden change in the air. It was warmer here, and the wind had stopped. In front of her, the trees parted, revealing a hidden valley nestled between the peaks of the mountains. And there, at the center of the valley, was the village. The village was unlike anything Mina had ever seen. The houses were built from stone, their rooftops covered in bright, colorful tiles. Flowers bloomed in every corner, and the air was filled with the scent of fresh pine and lavender. A narrow stream wound its way through the village, its waters clear and sparkling in the fading light. The people of the village were kind and welcoming, though they seemed surprised to see her. They spoke in a dialect that Mina didn't recognize, but their smiles and gestures made her feel at ease. They brought her food, fruit she had never seen before and bread that was soft and warm, and offered her a place to rest. As Mina settled into the village, she began to notice something strange. There were no modern conveniences here, no electricity, no machines, no sign of the outside world. It was as if the village had remained frozen in time, untouched by the progress of civilization. And yet, there was something else, something unspoken, a quiet tension that lingered beneath the surface. The villagers seemed happy, but there was an air of mystery that hung over the place, as if they were hiding something. One night, after everyone had gone to bed, Mina couldn't sleep. She felt restless, as if something was calling to her. She slipped out of the house where she had been staying and wandered through the quiet streets of the village, the moonlight casting long shadows across the ground. As she walked, she heard a faint sound, a soft, rhythmic chanting. Curious, she followed the sound, making her way toward the edge of the village. where the stone houses gave way to the forest. There, hidden among the trees, she found a small clearing. In the center of the clearing stood a group of villagers, their faces illuminated by the light of a flickering fire. They were gathered around a large stone altar, and on the altar lay something that took Mina's breath away, a glowing crystal pulsating with an ethereal light. The villagers were chanting softly, their voices blending with the crackling of the fire. Mina watched in awe as the crystal's light grew brighter, casting a soft glow over the clearing. But then, one of the villagers turned and saw her. There was a sudden silence. The chanting stopped, and all eyes turned toward Mina. She stood frozen, unsure of what to do. The villager who had seen her, a tall man with piercing blue eyes, stepped forward. "You shouldn't be here," he said softly, though his voice carried a weight of authority. "This is not for outsiders to see." Mina swallowed hard, her heart racing. I didn't mean to intrude," she stammered. "I just heard the chanting, and—" The man's expression softened. "You are a seeker," he said, studying her carefully. "One who has come searching for answers." Mina nodded, unsure of what else to say. The man gestured toward the glowing crystal. "This is the heart of our village," he explained. "It is what keeps us hidden, what protects us from the outside world." Mina's eyes widened. "It's magic?" The man smiled slightly. "You could call it that, but it is more than just magic. It is the essence of the mountain, the lifeblood of our people. Without it, we would not survive." Mina looked at the crystal, her mind racing. She had come searching for the hidden village, but she had found something much more than she had ever expected. Over the next few days, Mina learned more about the village and its people. The crystal, she discovered, was not just a source of protection. It was the reason the village had remained hidden for so long. The villagers had been entrusted with its power centuries ago, and they had lived in harmony with the mountain ever since. But there was a price. The village could not leave the mountains, and those who found their way there were bound to its magic. Mina realized with a heavy heart that if she stayed, she would never be able to return to her old life. One evening, as she stood at the edge of the village, looking out at the distant peaks, the blue-eyed man approached her. "You have a choice to make," he said softly. "You can stay here, with us, and become one of the mountain's guardians. Or you can leave, return to your world, and carry the secret of this place with you." Mina looked out at the mountains, the beauty of the hidden village tugging at her heart. But she knew the choice she had to make. "I'll go," she said quietly, "but I'll never forget this place." The man nodded, his eyes filled with understanding. "The village will always be here, waiting." With a heavy heart, Mina packed her things and made her way back down the mountain. The journey was long, but the magic of the village seemed to guide her, and soon she found herself back in her town. As she looked up at the distant mountains, she knew that the hidden village would remain a secret, locked away in the heart of the peaks. But she would carry its memory with her forever.